Safely operating the Nomad and rotating head attachment is comprehensively covered in your operator's manual. Be sure to familiarise yourself with these safety procedures. The minimum personal protective equipment you should wear at all times when operating the Nomad are gloves, wrist gauntlets, safety shoes and safety glasses. On site, you may be required to wear a hard hat and reflective safety vest. Under normal circumstances, 2 operators are required to operate the Nomad, but if smaller sheets of glass need to be moved around or placed or removed from cutting tables, this can be carried out by just 1 operator. To adjust the Nomad to fit various widths of glass, the operator changes the width of the Nomad by altering the telescopic cross braces. The cross braces can then be shortened or extended. Once at the desired length, the locking clamps are locked and the safety pins reinserted. Let's now see how the rotating head is fitted to the Nomad. On each side of the sliding head brackets are the locating pins for the rotating head assembly. These pins need to be removed. Next, the rotating head assembly is dropped into the brackets on the sliding heads and then secured in place with the locking pins. The vacuum cups then need to be removed from the side arms and fitted onto the arms of the rotating head. Once assembled, the rotating head can be rotated using a minimum of 2 people. The Nomad is now fully assembled with the rotating head attached. The Nomad components include these handles, which are used by the operator to push and maneuver the Nomad. The foot pegs on the bottom of the Nomad assist when unloading glass and installing the glass into a frame. Raising and lowering plates of glass on the Nomad is done by the sliding heads. First, the sliding head locks are released. Then, using the winches, the sliding heads are raised or lowered. Once at the desired height, the headlock is applied. The extension arms on the top of the Nomad can be extended to stabilise larger sheets of glass. As a safety precaution, there are 2 lower glass supports. These flip back and forth. Once the glass is loaded onto the Nomad, these supports are swung out so as to act as a safety support should the glass slip from the vacuum cups during transport. These are some important safety checks which need to be completed daily when using the Nomad. The first of these is the winch mechanisms. Fraying or worse, breaking of the winch cables could place you and your fellow operator in danger. Therefore, check the winch cables regularly. To do this, wind the sliding heads down. Then, wearing gloves, inspect the cable and pulleys to make sure there is no fraying and that the cable moves freely. Next, unwind the remainder of the cable from the winch drums and inspect them for any damage. Hold the cable taut with one hand and then wind the cable back onto the winch drums. Next are the vacuum cups. Inspect each cup carefully, taking special note that the filters are clean. The outer edges of each of the cups mustn't have any damage to them, as this could prevent a good seal between the cup and the glass. Don't inspect just one cup, but inspect them all carefully. Finally, with the front wheels locked, tilt the Nomad forward and placing your knee against the foot peg, try and push the Nomad forward. If the wheel turns, the brake will need to be repaired or replaced. On each of the 4 vacuum cups, the plungers have a red line indicator. To secure the glass to the vacuum cups, the operator pumps the plunger until a vacuum is created between the vacuum cup and the glass. If the red line indicator cannot be seen, then the cup is securely attached. But if after pumping the plunger the red line can still be seen, then this indicates that a secure vacuum has not been achieved. If you identify any signs of damage, notify your supervisor and contact your Quattrolifts distributor for advice. Whenever you adjust the top, bottom or diagonal cross braces, be sure to lock off the clamps securely. Once locked, insert the safety pins. Never attempt to move the Nomad unless these clamps are locked off and the safety pins inserted, especially when loaded with a sheet of glass. Should the clamps fail for some reason, or it has not been locked off securely, the safety pins could save the loss of an expensive sheet of glass. Here we will look at some of the most important aspects of safety when operating the Nomad. Select one person to be the leading hand. It's most important to have an experienced and trained person in control of the Nomad, particularly when installing glass. Operators should always be in the safety zone that is on the Nomad side of the glass. In this position, both operators can best control the Nomad and be out of harm's way should the vacuum cups fail during the transportation of the glass. For tall sheets of glass, make sure that the top extension arms are raised and the wheels flipped forward. Make sure all cross brace clamps are firmly locked and the safety pins inserted. And finally, regularly check that each of the vacuum cups is securely attached to the glass. When moving glass around, support the ends of the glass with one hand, while maneuvering the Nomad with the other hand using the handles on the Nomad. When moving glass over uneven ground, such as a construction site, we advise that both operators attach vacuum cups to each end of the glass for better control and push the Nomad using the handles. When approaching a gutter or similar obstacles which are on an incline, the top extension wheel on each of the Nomad frames needs to be tilted backwards, allowing the glass to pivot as the Nomad moves. Make sure the glass is on the high side of the incline. In other words, the glass is facing uphill. The lead operator drops the right wheel off the gutter first. Do not drop both wheels at the same time. The other operator does the same. This method keeps the glass as upright as possible and prevents the glass leaning backwards. Be sure that the glass is not resting on the lower glass supports. The glass must be free to flex during this type of maneuver. The same technique is seen here going over a speed hump. Notice how the top extension wheels are flipped backwards and the operators move the Nomad diagonally over the speed hump. An important aspect of the Nomad is that the weight of the glass, no matter how heavy, is always carried by the Nomad and not by you, the operator. At no time are you required to bear the weight of the glass.